Hi everybody, and welcome back to Kevin's Upfront Opinion today. So today I'm going to speak about family, because family is the most important thing at the end of the day. Now, what I'm really going to speak about, and this is something I've spoken to a few people about lately, is about fathers and daughters. Okay, because I'm the father of 7 children. Okay, 6 are biologically mine, and one of them's my stepdaughter. Okay, we're ranging in age from 1 to 24, and my stepdaughter's the oldest. But I still, even though she doesn't really know because she doesn't talk to me, I still consider her as my own daughter, mainly because her father was a lousy father. And I don't give a damn if her father hears it or sees it, or somebody goes and tells James he was a lousy father to her. So I've always considered her as my daughter and tried to do the best I can by her. Now, the reality is, in total, I have 4 daughters and 3 sons. Now, the question is, because in folklore, it's always believed men want sons, and they want sons more. But is that actually really true? Is it? Because I know a lot of women, okay, and don't try and make this out to think that I'm a player or anything like that. I know a lot of women, whether it's working on going down to your allotment or different charities I've worked for, because I've worked for the League of Friends, mainly dealt with women there. I used to work on a hospital radio station, a lot of women there. I used to work on a community newspaper where I was on the board of directors. Actually, I was on the board of directors of all 3 of them, to be honest. At the newspaper, no, that was all men, to be honest. Okay, but I've spoken to a lot of women about this, and a lot of them believe they're not wanted. And a lot of this boils down to the fathers being bad fathers. And I don't actually really like saying that. I really don't like saying that, because when I look at myself, if you ask a woman, they will always tell you that they're a good mother. They will always tell you that. And I could count on one hand how many people I've ever called a bad mother. And I'm not about to say who they are on here, because I don't need the aggro that I'm going to get, because I've got aggro on a few occasions for referring to people as being bad mothers. But do I count myself as a good father? No, I don't. I've never called myself in my entire life a good father. And this is the reason why. If you consider the first time I ever became father, which was the happiest day of my life. I actually cried that day. I was 31. When I became a father. Just think about it. I've had 6 biological children since I was 31 in 15 years. Think about that. Christ. I'm really starting to feel old. Okay. And when I was 31, I didn't know how to be a father. And the reason I didn't know how to be a father was because of the world I was mixed up in. Didn't get involved in criminality, not really. Mixed in with a lot of bad people, very bad people, to be honest. And I didn't know how to be a father. Even when my stepdaughter came along, didn't know how to be a father to her. Did the best I could and tried the best. Was I a good father to her? Not really. Not even when it came to my 2 oldest sons, okay, who are both currently 9. They're not the same age. There's only 8 months between them. Still didn't know. The day I realised how to become a father was this. It was, and I can tell you the exact date, it was the 28th of July 2017. And that was the date my second daughter was born. Okay, when I say my second daughter, I say biologically my second daughter. Okay, the date that she was actually born, because I'd been up for 48 hours with my wife. Okay, it was a natural birth, and it was the moment that the midwife asked me. I never asked. The midwife asked me, would you cut the cord? So I cut the cord, cut it exactly where the midwife told me. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was half asleep, to be honest. Midwife asked me to cut the cord. Baby got passed over to my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time. We were engaged at the time. And then she started to feed her and asked me to take over. So I finished feeding her. And then my wife bled out. And I still remember this because I was on the phone. I actually happened to be on the phone. I think it was to my mother-in-law or my future mother-in-law at the time when it actually happened. I was on the phone to a member of my wife's family anyway. It was somebody. And that was the moment I realised what it took to be a father and how important it was and how close the bond can be with a daughter. That very moment, that was the moment I realised. Okay, now admittedly, that's 7 years ago. Okay, 7 years ago. Coming on for 8 years now, that is. So, all them women out there that think they're not wanted, men prefer sons, codswallop, absolute, complete and utter BS. What it actually boils down to is bad fathers. Because if I look at my sons, okay, I don't want my sons taken after me. I truly don't. You know, there's always been this argument in my family, or my wife's family, should I really say, that they take after our side of the family. Some say that they do, some say that they don't. Okay, I don't want my sons taken after me. You know, the other, about a month ago, my second son said to me that he wants to take over the family business from me. And he wants to look after me. Mainly because he knows my health's not been brilliant. Mainly because I've had ongoing problems with my epilepsy. Even the day that my daughter's born, okay, my 7-year-old, I ended up having epilepsy. I had a grand mal epileptic seizure because I had been up for so long. And all my kids know my health ain't been great. They know that I've had my mental health problems, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm not going to ask for sympathy or anything. It is what it is at the end of the day. But men do not want their sons taken after them. You know, I certainly do not want my kids taking over the family business. When I say a family business, this is what I call a family business, because I started up mine to get myself back into work because I'd been off sick. And because I'd worked in sales, well, I've worked in sales for 20 years, and I've used every damn dirty trick in the book to get what I need, to make the money that I need. And some of them are pretty damn, I mean, I've lied to people, I've been manipulative, nothing to be proud of. Do I want my sons taken after and going down that route? No, I don't. But I can look at myself now and say, I am a changed person for it, for everything I've done. So if I look at myself now, I've multiple YouTube channels, TikTok channels, I have a newspaper, and the ethos of that online newspaper, which is happening.com, is not to go down the traditional route of going, you know, if you look at a lot of newspapers, they either go to the left or they go to the right. I say it how it is. I don't care what the repercussions are. You know, recently I did a story and I'm facing the repercussions to do with Meta because of that story that I did last week. The people that are involved in that, they don't know that I'm going to be suffering repercussions, but I am going to suffer repercussions because of it. But if I have to, I have to. But I had to do the right thing. And that's what I always do with a newspaper. And the same with my home. I have 2 home improvement companies. Okay. I tell people the truth, whether they like it or not, and show them ways that they can save money. Because after working in the home improvement industry for years, I saw how people got ripped off left, right and centre. But we're going on a bit of a tangent at the moment because this is about fathers and daughters. So the reality is men will always want daughters over sons. They only want one son, and it is point blank only for their bloodline. That's the only reason. They just want one son to follow their bloodline. After that, all they want is daughters. So if they went and had 10 children, they want 9 daughters, but they only want one son. That is the reality of it. So ladies or girls, whatever, listen. Men don't want sons. They don't, because most men, including myself, think, look at the things I've done in my life. Do I really want somebody taking after me and going down the same route as me? And men tend to have better bonds with their daughters. Generally. It's not always the case, but generally. Or they try to. You know, they look for them happy days when, for instance, they take their daughter to prom. Or they're walking their daughter down the aisle. You know, them happy moments. Or they make that speech at the wedding, the father-daughter speech. Or they do that the father-daughter dance at the wedding. Or they get to go to the maternity ward to go and see their first grandchild. Those are the moments men care about. They won't say it to you, and I'm telling you, they will not ever say it to you, because men bottle everything up and will not speak. That is the reality. So for anybody that believes that men don't want daughters, you're kidding yourself, because that's all men really, really want. So I hope this helps somebody out today. Okay, but for now, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you all again a bit later.